Hello everyone, today I want to tell you about my favorite gardening shows to watch on TV when it's raining like cats and dogs as it is today or in the middle of the winter. Welcome to my YouTube channel, 90% Native. My name is Michelle and I grow native plants and I garden for the wildlife. Today it is raining so hard outside. It's actually going to be raining all day. Unfortunately for my daughter, it is her prom, but they're making the best of it. So a lot of times you will catch me outside soaking wet gardening, but sometimes I like to use it as an excuse to take a day off. Also, I love to really binge watch gardening shows over the winter so that I can feel like I'm still a part of the season. All the shows that I'm going to tell you about today are actually not American US shows. They are filmed and put on in different parts of the world. So with being a native plant enthusiast, you may wonder, like, why would I like those shows? Whatever. The first one I'm going to talk about is Gardener's World. It is my absolute favorite gardening show on television, and I have always watched Gardener's World and used what they did and the plants that they used and applied it to natives. And so that's really helped me with different aspects of designing my native plant gardens or propagating. The British are experts on propagating plants, especially Carol Klein. And I've just learned so much about that aspect from Gardener's World. So just because the show may be filmed in a different country or be focusing on plants from different countries, that doesn't mean that it can't be beneficial to you as a native plant lover. Something else that I found watching gardening shows is it really and truly became like therapy sessions for me. I was able to just calm down and immerse myself in watching the show, and then all the worries of the world went away. A few years back in 2019, I was pretty sick, and so being able to find Gardener's World and just binge watch going back so many seasons really was almost like medicine. And so if you are into gardening and you don't watch gardening shows yet, give it a try, because you may find, like me, that it's almost a form of therapy. I mean, around here in this house, everybody knows Friday evenings I get my glass of wine and I watch my Gardener's World, and that's just what happens here. And it just fills me with joy to watch gardening, especially when I can't get out and do the gardening. So let's talk about Gardener's World first, since I've already mentioned it. Gardener's World is a British gardening show, and it is on, I think it's on March through the end of October. They take a 3-month break in November, January, 3 or 4 month break in the middle of winter. But the past few winters, they know there's so much demand for gardening shows, especially when it's cold and snowy outside and you just want to feel that life. So they've put on different specials and like consolidation shows. So those are really nice too in the middle of winter. I watch Gardener's World through a streaming subscription that I get called BritBox. Now you can get BritBox through Amazon or you can get it standalone. I have my subscription through BritBox standalone, and this might seem a little crazy, but what I noticed is that when you have the standalone subscription on BritBox, you're going to be able to watch Gardener's World almost immediately after it airs in the UK. Whereas I have found that if you have the BritBox subscription through Amazon, sometimes they won't post the show until the next day. So if you're really looking forward to your Friday night gardening show like I am, then you may want to watch it through the standalone version of BritBox. You can also catch a lot of episodes on YouTube, but those kind of come and go, and you can go really far back on YouTube actually. But going back to how I watch it through a standalone subscription of BritBox. I have a few favorite hosts on Gardener's World. The first is Monty Don. I love him. He's like my imaginary boyfriend, and he's the gardener that I am most familiar with when I started watching gardener shows, and I love his garden. I love his dogs. I used to have a golden too, and actually I found Gardener's World shortly after my golden Caesar passed. That's actually the name of one of my gardens, and he had 2 golden retrievers. And so I just almost felt like it was meant for me to find that gardening show. And then there is Adam Frost. I really like Adam Frost and how he presents. And he has been presenting like when Monty Don is off at his new home. And he has some really interesting projects going on that I'm sure that you would love to see. And then finally, Carol Klein. Like, I love Carol Klein. Carol Klein actually has a few different gardening shows that you can get on YouTube, but won't be on BritBox. She has Spring Gardening with Carol Klein, Summer Garden with Carol Klein, and then my favorite series that she has is Life in a Cottage Garden with Carol Klein. All of those you can find on YouTube. I would highly recommend looking those up as well. I will actually watch those things over and over again, and a lot of times when I'm working on my computer, I'll just have them playing in the background, just because it's really like soothing, if you will, for crazy gardening people like me. And Gardener's World also has a few hosts that have differing abilities. So their ability to garden with maybe traditional tools or in traditional ways is a little different. And that a piece of the program is really inspiring to me, and I really appreciate that part of the show. Okay, so next up is Gardening Australia, and as the name suggests, this is a gardening show geared towards Australians, but I still absolutely love it. I watch Gardening Australia on a streaming service on the internet called Daily Motion, and all you do is in the search bar you put Gardening Australia, and you will get tons and tons of seasons that you can binge watch probably forever at this point. And so how I watch it is on my laptop, and I shoot it up to a Samsung because my Samsung doesn't have the Daily Motion app. But in this room, I have a Fire Stick, and that I can get the Daily Motion app, and I can watch it on the big screen through the Fire Stick on the Daily Motion app, if I haven't said that 20 times already. But anyway, that's how I watch Gardening Australia. They have a very eccentric host named Costa, and he's great and lovable, and yeah, they do a lot of gardening with native plants. They are very big on gardening with native plants, I would say more so than the British are. So it's nice to listen to how they are using natives in their landscapes and their formal landscapes and things like that. A lot of times they talk about invasives and how to remove them or what's invasives. You'll see when they throw names up on the screen of different plants that they're using that they will put, it should be checked in their area to see if it's invasive. So they're talking about a lot of those topics that I am really, really interested in. They're just dealing with different plant material than I am. It's also really interesting just to learn about their native plants because they're so very different than the native plants here. The other thing is they break Australia up into different sections based on the climate or ecoregion, if you will. And so they're gearing information towards those different regions as well, especially their jobs for the weekend, which if you know Gardener's World, you know jobs for the weekend. But anyway, so they'll throw up, okay, so in the arid part of Australia, here are your jobs. And in the and then another part of Australia, here are different jobs that you're going to be working on. So I really like that show. The other thing that I especially like about Gardening Australia is that their winter is our summer and our summer is their winter. So in the dead of winter here, I can be watching Gardening Australia, and they're dealing with all of the summer vegetables and things like that I won't be messing with for another couple months, and people really aren't talking about so much here, but that I'm craving information about. So it is a great show for the dead of winter here in the United States because they are talking about summer gardening, and it just really helps get excited for the upcoming season. Okay, the last show that I wanted to talk about is called Beech Grove Garden. This is like the Scottish version of Gardener's World, but it is only 30 minutes. I really think that they should make it 60 minutes if you ask me. The other two shows I've talked about are both 60 minutes. Now you can get Beech Grove Garden on your BritBox subscription. That's where I watch it. And they talk a lot about vegetable gardening. I mean, a lot about flowers and things like that too, but I really think they talk more about vegetables than the other two shows that we already talked about. And they talk about their potatoes or their tatties all the time. And they have numerous hosts that talk about houseplants and vegetable garden and flower gardening and all that kind of good stuff. A couple of the hosts actually work at some of the botanical gardens, so you'll get to see some of those from time to time. Just another really good gardening show that this is what I do, okay? So I'm watching my Gardener's World, and then I get done with Gardener's World, and if I'm not finished with like my gardening kick, then I'll throw on Beech Grove Garden, so I have an hour and a half of garden programming. A lot of the show takes place in, which I believe, I don't know if it's a public or private garden or what it is, but it's called Beech Grove Garden, and they have all sorts of different gardening scenarios at that garden, like a botanical garden, and they perform experiments, so you get to see what they're working on, from the beginning, and then the results, episodes later. So just another really great gardening show. Those are my 3 favorite gardening shows. If you have favorite gardening shows, I'd love to hear about it down in the comments below. And if this is content that appeals to you, please consider subscribing and sharing my channel with your gardening friends. I am going to pop in a link to a video. I uploaded it at a weird time and it hasn't got a lot of views, or maybe it's just crap. I don't know, but I'm gonna link to it here if you guys wanna go check it out. But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for taking your time to watch my video. Happy gardening, and I will catch you again next time. Oh, and by the way, Violet is sleeping right back there.